Friedrich Nietzsche was absolutely obsessed with honesty. So how on earth did he end up making some of the most radical and, let's be honest, confusing statements about truth in the entire history of philosophy? He famously claimed truths are illusions, but then he praised the sense for facts. To really get Nietzsche, we have to solve this puzzle.
So right out of the gate, in his early work, Nietzsche makes this absolutely shocking claim. He basically argues that what we call truth is just a collection of metaphors that we've used so often, we've totally forgotten they aren't real. We've started mistaking our own illusions for reality. And that right there is the heart of the problem we need to solve.
All right, so let's start by laying out this core paradox. It really is a conflict that runs right through his work. You could almost call it a case of Nietzsche versus Nietzsche.
On the one hand, you have Nietzsche declaring there are no facts, only interpretations. I mean, that's a classic relativist statement, right? But then he turns right around and praises the art of reading facts without falsifying them. So which is it? Is he denying facts exist, or is he demanding we read them with extreme care? This is the puzzle we really need to unpack.
To solve this, we've got to go back to the beginning. His argument that truths are illusions, well, that isn't just a clever phrase. It comes from a very specific and pretty radical idea he had about the nature of reality itself.
The key concept here is something called the thing in itself, an idea he borrowed from the philosopher Immanuel Kant. Think of it as the ultimate reality of an object, what a tree really is, completely independent of how we see it or experience it. And for the young Nietzsche, this ultimate reality is completely cut off from us. We can never know it directly.
And here's why. For the early Nietzsche, our entire experience is just a chain of metaphors. It starts with that mysterious thing in itself, the real tree, let's say. That tree causes a nerve stimulus in us. Okay, that's metaphor number one. Then our brain turns that stimulus into a mental image, metaphor number two. Then we give that image a name, the word tree, metaphor number three. You see? With each step, we're moving further and further away from the original reality.
And here's the crucial conclusion from all that. If our language is just layers of metaphors, then the traditional idea of truth, that our words correspond to the real world, is impossible. Our words only point to our own mental images, not to the thing in itself. We're basically trapped in our own heads.
But then, everything changes. Nietzsche has a massive breakthrough. He realizes he's been asking the wrong question all along. The problem isn't that we can't reach the true world. The problem is the very idea of a true world in the first place, a philosophical error, he argues, with a very long and destructive history.
In his book, Twilight of the Idols, Nietzsche actually charts this history. For Plato, the true world was accessible to the wise. For Christianity, it was heaven, a promise for later. For Kant, it was that unreachable thing in itself. Slowly but surely, philosophy chips away at the idea until it's finally recognized as a useless error. But Nietzsche says there's one crucial final step to take.
And this leads to his most profound insight. Once you abolish the true world, you must also abolish the apparent world. Why? Because you can only call this world apparent if there's a truer world to compare it to. Without that gold standard, our world is no longer a mere shadow. It's all there is.
And the implication of that is just profound. This messy, sensory world, the one previously dismissed as a mere appearance, is now the only reality. There's nothing behind it, nothing beyond it. This single move completely reframes his entire philosophy.
This is how Nietzsche escapes his own paradox. By abolishing the true world, he clears the ground to build a new understanding of truth, one that is firmly and finally rooted in this world, the only world we have.
So here's the solution to our puzzle. The early Nietzsche was trapped by metaphysics. Our world could never be true because it was always being compared to a perfect true world. The later Nietzsche simply gets rid of the true world, and suddenly truth is possible again, but its focus has completely changed. It's no longer about metaphysics. It's about an honest, empirical investigation of this reality.
This explains why his later work is filled with praise for things that seem to contradict his early claims. He celebrates science, the careful art of philology, and above all, honesty and a sense for facts. These are the tools we use to understand this world, and for the later Nietzsche, that's the only game in town. The denial of facts was a denial of metaphysical facts about a true world. The praise of facts is about the empirical facts of this one.
But this all raises a deeper question. Why did humanity invent the true world in the first place? Nietzsche believed it wasn't just some intellectual mistake. No, it was driven by a powerful psychological need.
He calls the source of this need the ascetic ideal. This is a profound disgust with life as it is, with suffering, change, and the body. To cope, humanity invented a truer world to devalue this one and give suffering a meaning. It's a system of values that says no to life, what Nietzsche chillingly calls a will to nothingness. The belief in a true world was its ultimate philosophical weapon.
But what finally destroys this life-denying ideal? In a stunning twist, Nietzsche argues it's the ideal's own highest value, the will to truth. For 2,000 years, this way of thinking trained humanity to be relentlessly honest, but eventually that drive for honesty turns on itself. It investigates its own core beliefs, in a true world, in God, and is forced, by its own standard of truthfulness, to conclude they are lies.
So the pursuit of truth, born from a life-denying impulse, is exactly what frees us from it. It's philosophy overcoming itself. But this leaves a critical question. If our highest value for 2,000 years, the will to truth, has destroyed its own foundations, what comes next? What values are even possible after the death of the true world? That is the challenge Nietzsche leaves with us.